Hello everybody, Dan Lucas from Credo here, and thanks for joining me for this video in the 50 States in 50 Days series. Today we're going to be talking about the 29th state admitted to the Union, Iowa. And Iowa was admitted to the Union on December 28th, 1846, roughly about a year after Texas. So I don't know if it was if it's a Christmas kind of thing that was going on at the time, or if it was just let's get it done before the end of the year. Not really sure. I guess I'd have to dig into history books for that one. But yeah, it was about a year. Actually, it was just one day off from being a perfect year from when Texas was admitted to the Union. So obviously we're on day 29. We're talking about Iowa. Iowa is one of those states that is similar to like states we've done previously, like Mississippi or South Carolina, where they just have a ton of tax credits and tax incentives, and you can see that part of the public policy is really pushed forward by the tax system, and that's not necessarily a bad thing, because it can also, it can be very helpful, and it can also be something that instead of just having rules and laws and legislation, that you actually use financial incentives to drive behavior. So there's a lot of theoretical stuff that goes on there. If that's something you're interested in, people have written, PhD theses on it and stuff, whether tax policy drives behavior. But suffice to say, when I'm looking at Iowa, what I see is it seems like they have a very broad tax base. And what I mean by that is they have a lot of different taxes, which gives them a lot of options to kind of push and pull on levers to balance their budget and to raise tax revenue when they might need to, or just pull back on certain incentives if they have to keep the budget in balance. Again, that's just sort of my inference. It's not necessarily a fact, but let me just read off some of the taxes that they have in Iowa, and you might see what I'm talking about here. They have a corporation income tax, a franchise tax, an individual income tax, a state and trust tax, insurance premium tax, monies and credits tax, property replacement tax, sales and use tax, and withholding tax. Okay, so they have a lot of different sources as to where they can get tax revenue. Now, their brochure of tax credits and incentives is 150 pages. Okay, we just did Texas, it was like 14 pages. Okay, and some of these other states, like I've talked about before, South Carolina, Mississippi, they have very long ones as well. So what I'm seeing is, or kind of my observation would be, or just in my professional experience, what I would infer from all this is that they want to have a broad base so that they can keep their budget balanced, but at the same time they want to be able to pull back on a lot of these taxes. So it's almost like, hey, we're going to put all these taxes in place, but hey, don't worry, as long as you are doing business and ongoing, and you're doing good for the community and doing the right things, et cetera, we're going to give you some breaks on these taxes, right? So if you want to take all your money and you want to go gamble it, or speculate on things, or go buy a fancy car, or go waste it at the racetrack or something, that's on you. But if you are taking the money and you are reinvesting it in your business, et cetera, it's certainly nothing wrong with using money for recreation, but they're going to reward people for investing back in their companies, which invests in prosperity, and invest back into the overall prosperity of the state, invest in the citizens of Iowa. So it's very geared toward rewarding behavior that is responsible, what can be considered responsible, helps jobs, helps people with jobs already, brings more jobs into the state, and helps the overall economy and the overall tax base. Okay, so it's really geared toward an overall health. It's almost like a doctor giving you a full health plan after looking at all of your blood work, right? To just kind of make sure that every single thing in your blood work is looking good. And if it's not, you just kind of, maybe you're low on vitamin D and they add vitamin D, and maybe your cholesterol's high, maybe you cut down on eating this and that. So that's what I'm seeing in Iowa. Okay, that being said, 150 pages. I'm not going to go through it. All right. Certainly not in the scope of these videos. What I'm going to do is I'm going to run through the credits And I'm going to tell you the types of income that those credits can apply against. But then there's another aspect to these credits which adds some very material information, but is really sort of in a different area. So they have some credits are refundable, which means that you don't have to owe tax to actually get the money. So they're almost like grants or subsidies. They have some that are transferable, meaning that if you earn them and own them, you can sell them to other people. Okay, almost like selling gift cards. Or, you have a $20 gift card to Home Depot, you sell it to somebody for $18, right? They have that kind of thing going on. They have a lot of different carry forwards for some of these. They have some with additional forms and that you have to file in advance, et cetera, et cetera. So what I'm going to do first is I'm going to read through the entire list. I'm going to tell you what kind of tax you can use it against. I'll give you a little bit of commentary if I think I can add anything to it. Then what I'm going to do is I'm going to go back and say, okay, as of this list, these are the ones that you need to know more information about, okay, to really understand them better. And then we're going to conclude after that, because that's about as far as I think we can go in this video. Okay, so the first one is the Accelerated Career Education Program Credit. They've called it ACE, and they have it coded 260G. That can be used against withholding tax. Now, I'm assuming that's payroll tax, and that if you are doing some investing in education in your business, that you're going to get some payroll tax breaks, okay? The next credit on the list is the Adoption Tax Credit. Look that one up. That's pretty self-explanatory based on the terminology. You can use that against individual income tax, just like we would expect. They have an Angel Investor Tax Credit, formerly known as Venture Capital Tax Credit for qualifying business. Talked about Angel Investor Tax Credits before. Look that up. It is what it sounds like. And you can use that against corporation income tax, franchise tax, individual income tax, estate and trust tax, insurance premium tax, and monies and credits tax. Okay. So do you think that they're trying to encourage people to be angel investors in Iowa? You bet they are, okay? Assistive device tax credit can be used against corporation income tax. I'm assuming that has to do with handicapped individuals and things like that. That's probably why it's only a corporate income tax that you can use it against. There's a beginning farmer tax credit program, and that can be used against, there's a beginning farmer tax program that has two different tax credits inside of it. One is the agricultural assets transfer tax credit. The other is the custom farming contract tax credit. That can be used against corporation income tax, individual income tax, and estate and trust tax. There's the biodiesel blended fuel tax credit, kind of an environmental credit. That can be used against corporate income tax, individual income tax, and estate and trust tax. Next, we have the charitable conservation contribution tax credit. I'm assuming that's land conservation, donation of land, or protection of land. You can use that against corporation income tax, individual income tax, and estate and trust tax. There's a child independent care tax credit, child independent care tax credit. A lot of people know there's a federal credit for that. That can be used against individual income tax and estate and trust tax. There's a claim of right tax credit. Not really sure what that is, but that can be used against individual income tax or estate and trust tax. If you want to know what that one is or more about it, put a comment in the video or send us a question and I'll answer that for you individually. We have some energy credits here. We have the E15 plus gasoline promotion tax credit and the E18 gasoline promotion tax credit. That can be used against both of those together. Well, they don't have to be together, but I'm going to group those together in that they can be used against the same kind of tax. Those credits can be used against corporate income tax, individual income tax, or estate and trust tax. Next one is the Early Childhood Development Tax Credit. That can be used against individual income tax and estate and trust tax. There's the Earned Income Tax Credit, piggybacking on the federal credit. Individual income tax, estate and trust tax. We have the Endow Iowa Tax Credit. That can be used against corporate income tax, franchise tax, individual income tax, estate and trust tax, insurance premium tax, and monies and credits tax. If you want to know more about the Endow Iowa Tax Credit, again, send us a note, put a comment in the video in the comment section. All right, The Enterprise Zone Program, they call this EZ tax credits. They have the Supplemental Research Activities Tax Credit and the Investment Tax Credit. And those can be used against corporate income tax, franchise tax, individual income tax, estate and trust tax. And then the investment tax credit can be used against the insurance premium tax and the monies and credit tax. Now, they also have some other incentives underneath the enterprise zone. Again, the enterprise zone is geographic zones that they've designated that they want money to be going into to build it up. So, in other words, take it from poverty to prosperity. At least that's the idea. And so they have, those are two credits that are kind of the biggest credits underneath the enterprise zone program. There's also a local property tax exemption, which can be used against property taxes. There's a sales tax refund, which can be used against sales and use tax. Don't ever underestimate sales tax credits, because sales taxes can be huge. Okay, they can really come out to be big numbers, and a lot of times they're more than even corporate income tax or individual income tax in the state. They also have a supplemental withholding tax credit, and that is, you can apply that against withholding credits. Again, I believe that's if you're employing people in these areas to do projects and stuff, you're going to get some payroll tax relief. Okay. All right. There's the ethanol promotion tax credit, the farm to food donation tax credit, the franchise tax credit, and the fuel tax credit. All of these seem to be geared more towards the farming industry, and they're just kind of pinpointing some different areas of large expenditures in that industry. They're going to give you some credits on. Those 4 credits I just mentioned, all of them can be used against corporate income tax, individual income tax, or estate and trust tax. All right, now a couple of other energy ones. We have the geothermal heat pump tax credit and the geothermal tax credit. Looks like these are for individual residences or private residences. Those can be used against individual income tax. Next, we have the High Quality Jobs Program, which they call HQJP. And there are 5 different sections under this program. They have the Supplemental Research Activities Tax Credit, can be used against corporate income tax, individual income tax, estate and trust tax. I'm assuming that is like research and development tax credits like we've discussed in other videos. And there's, of course, a federal credit for that, commonly referred to as the R&D credit. And they're giving you some piggyback in Iowa. That's awesome. There's the investment tax credit in this area. Now, there's investment tax credit in other areas, but this one is specific to jobs. You can use that against corporate income tax, franchise tax, individual income tax, estate and trust tax, insurance premium tax, and monies and credit tax. Whew. There's the local property tax exemption. Again, you guessed it, property taxes. Sales tax refund. You guessed it, it's against sales and use tax. Corporate tax credit for third-party sales tax against corporate income tax, franchise tax, insurance premium tax, money and credits tax. Next, we have the historic preservation tax credit. We talked about these before. Historical buildings, historical sites, etc., etc. If you're putting any money into it, fixing it up, refurbishing it, keeping it up. Those can be used against corporate income tax, franchise tax, individual income tax, estate and trust tax, insurance premium tax. There is the Innovation Fund tax credit. This could be very similar to an R&D credit, research and development credit, because a lot of people even call the R&D credit innovation credit, because it's not necessarily pigeonholed R&D as to what a lot of people think that is. It really is about innovation, and so it can be things that you may not consider to be R&D but are very innovative, and they can qualify for this credit. So if you're doing anything in this area, just know there's a couple different areas in the Iowa tax code that you're going to want to look at that you might qualify for one, either or both. Anyway, the Innovation Fund tax credit, you can use that against corporate income tax, franchise tax, individual income tax, estate and trust tax, insurance premium tax, and monies and credit tax. Monies and credits tax. All right, now we have the Iowa Alternative Minimum Tax Credit. That is, you can use it against corporate income, franchise tax, corporate income tax, franchise tax, individual income tax, estate and trust tax. Okay. Wow. All right. We're about 2/3 of the way through now. All right, we're going to go to another jobs and training program. It's called the Iowa New Jobs Training Program. It's section 260E. We have 4 different areas under this program, or 4 different credits. New Jobs Income Tax Credit. That can be used against corporate income tax, individual income tax, estate and trust tax. We have the Supplemental Withholding Tax Credit, SJC. You guessed it, can be used against withholding taxes. I'm going to say that's payroll taxes for now. We have tax increment financing, and that is, again, withholding tax. There is, you know what, I apologize, it is not. Tax increment financing is against property tax. We have the withholding tax credit. You guessed it, it's against withholding / payroll taxes. And that's the new jobs tax credit area. All right. They have also listed its separate redevelopment tax credit. That can be used against corporate income tax, franchise tax, individual income tax, estate and trust tax, insurance premium tax, monies and credits tax. There's renewable energy tax credit, and that can be used against corporate income tax, franchise tax, individual income tax, estate and trust tax, insurance premium tax, property replacement tax, sales and use tax. We have research activities tax credit, another R&D credit, corporate income tax, individual income tax, estate and trust tax, and let me see, I gotta get a line, and that's it. We have the school tuition organization tax credit, STO, that can be used against corporate income tax, individual income tax, estate and trust tax. We have the solar energy system tax credit. I'll let that one speak for itself. You can use that against corporate income tax, franchise tax, individual income tax, estate and trust tax, and monies and credits tax. Next, we have the targeted jobs tax credit from withholding, TJC. It says from withholding, that's a hint. You can use it against withholding tax and payroll credits. We have the taxpayers trust fund tax credit. I'm not really familiar with what that is, but you can use that against individual income tax and estate and trust tax. That might be some sort of savings program or something in Iowa. But if you have one more information about that, put that in the comments. We can answer that on a case-by-case basis. We have the tuition and textbook tax credit, another education type credit. That can be used against individual income tax and estate and trust tax. We have the venture capital tax credit, Iowa Fund of Funds. That can be used against corporate income tax, franchise tax, individual income tax, estate and trust tax, insurance premium tax, monies and credits tax. We have the volunteer firefighter and emergency medical services personnel and reserve peace officer tax credit. And that can be used against individual income tax and estate and trust tax. We have the wind energy production tax credit, another energy credit. It can be used against corporate income tax, franchise tax, individual income tax, estate and trust tax, insurance premium tax, property replacement tax, sales and use tax. The last one on the list is Workforce Housing Tax Incentive Program, and there's two different areas under here. We have the investment tax credit, which can be used against corporate income tax, franchise tax, individual income tax, estate and trust tax, insurance premium tax, monies and credits tax. Then we have the sales tax refund under this area. You guessed it, you can use it against sales tax. Okay, that's the list of all the taxes and the ones you can use them against. Now, to finish this up, what I'm going to do is I'm going to take you through the credits that have refundable. What I'm going to do now is I'm going to tell you the ones that are refundable, the tax credits that are refundable. Okay, so that means that you don't have to owe tax to get money back from the state. Okay, again, you don't have to owe tax to get money back from the state. So they're almost like a subsidy or a grant, okay? The ones that are refundable are the adoption tax credit, the angel investor tax credit, the assistive device tax credit, the biodiesel blended fuel tax credit, child independent care tax credit, claim of right tax credit, corporation tax credit for third-party sales tax, corporation tax credit for third-party sales tax, racks, shelving, and conveyor equipment. Okay, lots of machinery and equipment ones there. So that's a subsidy that they're giving. E15 plus gasoline promotion tax credit, E85 gasoline promotion tax credit, early childhood development tax credit, earned income tax credit, ethanol promotion tax credit, fuel tax credit, historic preservation tax credit, redevelopment tax credit, refundable for nonprofits. Now, and then they have the renewable chemical production tax credit, research activities tax credit. Wow, they got research activities refundable. Pay attention to that one. And then they've got supplemental research activities tax credit. All of the ones I just mentioned there are all refundable tax credits. You don't have to owe tax to get them. I can't stress this enough. People miss this all the time, especially because when they think they don't owe any tax, they completely don't think about this area at all. Okay, that is free money waiting for you. Okay. Now I'm going to tell you the tax credits that are transferable, okay, which means that I've earned them, but I can't use them, or for some reason I would rather sell them. I don't want to wait for them, whatever. Either way, it's a $20 Home Depot gift card that you'd rather just sell for $18 and get out of Dodge, okay? These are the transferable credits, okay? Ready? Historic Preservation Tax Credit. Historic Preservation Tax Credit, non-refundable by request. Okay, don't worry about that. Just know that the Historical Preservation Tax Credit is transferable. Innovation Fund Tax Credit. Again, R&D stuff, transferable. That's awesome. I need to look into that more myself, honestly, because that is not typical. That is very, very generous. Renewable Energy Tax Credit, Venture Capital Fund of Funds Tax Credit, Wind Energy Production Tax Credit, Workforce Housing Investment Tax Credit. All of those are transferable. You can sell them to other people. You don't have to wait to get them, okay? That's huge. I've actually not seen more transferable tax credits in any other state as of yet, okay? So they're getting a ton of refundable credits, a ton of transferable credits. Very, very generous. Take advantage of these. All right, let's do carry forwards. Okay, now carry forwards means that if you let's say you have these, you earn a credit in a year, in a certain year, you don't have to use it that year. Okay, it means if you can't use it all that year, you can carry it forward and you basically bank it, and you can use it in future years when you want to, or to use it all up. Okay, carry forwards are big, okay, because sometimes people generate credits where they have this huge credit in a year and they can only use 20% of it, and then it expires, okay, and it does them no good, right? So carry forwards are valuable. All right, first let's do the 10-year. Okay, here's 10-year carry forwards, okay, on these credits. Agricultural Assets Transfer Tax Credit, Custom Farming Contract Tax Credit, Geothermal Heat Pump Tax Credit, Geothermal Heat Pump Tax Credit, it's the same thing, sorry. It's tax credit code number 23. Geothermal tax credit. So one is a heat pump, one is just a normal tax credit. The New Jobs Income Tax Credit, the Solar Energy System Tax Credit. Those are all 10-year carry forwards. There's actually one for 20 years, which is the Charitable Conservation Contribution Tax Credit. Conserve a piece of land, get a nice 20-year tax credit, maybe even a stream of tax-free income, or tax-free living for a while if it's a big enough piece of land. Okay, that's the only one that's 20 years. The last ones I listed are 10 years. Let's do 7-year. 7-year corporate Inc. tax credit for third-party sales tax. Corporate tax credit for third-party sales tax for NRX, shelving, and conveyor equipment. Housing investment tax credit, investment tax credit, renewable energy tax credit, venture capital fund of funds tax credit, wind energy production tax credit. Those are 7-year carry forwards. Let's do 5-year carry forwards. 5-year Endow Iowa tax credit, farm to food donation tax credit, historic preservation tax credit, innovation fund tax credit, redevelopment tax credit, school tuition organization tax credit, and the workforce housing investment tax credit. Okay? Let's do the 3-year carry forwards. Angel investor tax credit. And I guess that's it. Angel investor tax credit has a 3-year carry forward. Okay, those are all the carry forwards. All right. Let's do additional forms required. Okay, so this means that these tax credits are going to require additional forms, make them more complicated, either in advance or when you file a return. You're going to have to do the homework on your own to figure out which one it is. Okay, here's the credits that require additional paperwork you're going to have to be extra careful with. Adoption tax credit, the biodiesel blended fuel tax credit, child independent care tax credit, E15 plus gasoline promotion tax credit, E18 gasoline promotion tax credit, ethanol promotion tax credit, franchise tax credit, fuel tax credit, geothermal heat pump tax credit, geothermal tax credit, new jobs income tax credit, Iowa alternative minimum tax credit, research activities tax credit, S corporation apportionment tax credit, supplemental research activities tax credit, targeted jobs withholding tax credit. Okay, last one I'm going to do. These are the credits that expire at the end of this year. So if you want this credit, you better get it this year. And it actually looks like there's only one. That is the wind energy production tax credit. It expires at the end of this year. So if you're looking for that credit, you got to get it this year. unless of course they extend it or do a new one or whatever to include wind energy, which wouldn't surprise me. But gosh, that was 25 minutes of trying to convey a lot of information. That's what I think I can give you that's really relevant to get this information out there as quickly as possible. Hopefully something resonated with you. Again, I said this about some other states that we've done before. If you're in Iowa, personal or business, there are so many credits. If you're not getting these credits, you need to look into these credits, okay? Whether it's one I named that resonate with you or all of them. If there's one that you think you might qualify for, get with a professional. Get with us. Send us a note. Say, hey, look, I think I might qualify for this one, and I'm interested in some of these other ones. If you guys could do a review and tell me if I might be eligible for some of these other credits, okay? We will help you with that. Another CPA could help you with that. Let us know, okay? Don't have to be in Iowa to help you with this. You know, we can do all of this from where we are in Georgia. We don't have a physical office in Iowa, but we do serve clients in Iowa, and we can help with this. So let us know if you want help with this. We can do a full review and see how much money you might have left on the table and try to help you out here, okay? So anyway, let us know. Put a comment in the section. Send us an email. Go to our website, credofinance.com. There's lots of different ways to get in touch with us, but I hope this is helpful. So if you know anybody in Iowa, especially if you know anybody in the farming or that is heavy in the business that is in manufacturing or a lot of machinery and equipment, they're going to benefit from this. But even just citizens, people that are just employees, people that are contractors, employees that are just self-employed or on their own, not necessarily a business owner, lots of credits for you too, and you might be missing out. So I just want to make sure everybody gets all these credits because it's a tragedy to me that I see so many of these tax credits out there that people don't get, and they're there right for you. People just don't know about them, and unfortunately, I don't think my industry has done an awesome job of communicating. Because I'm not trying to bash my industry or any of my peers, because we all work really hard and work ourselves, to the bone, trying to keep up with everything. But we want you to get this money. So let us know. I'm going to wrap it up for Iowa. Thank you so much for watching this, and I will see you in the next video.